Hey everyone, Eric on paper, and I'm Eric, and I am really excited to show you a piece of art I am extremely proud of. Oh, actually I drew this when I was 7. Never mind, wrong piece. Here's a piece of artwork that I actually wanted to show you. Oh, actually I drew this one 5 years ago. It didn't really practice. I thought it was good at the time, but here's the piece I wanted to actually show you. It was another of my infusion drawings, so I wasn't able to capture that process. But I did think I could focus a bit on the coloring and just talk about the artistic journey and what you can learn after looking at your work. Uh, when I started drawing like really seriously 5 years ago, I just started following along with tutorials and particularly people like Todd McFarlane, Todd Knock, and Jim Lee. They have really good online tutorials that I like to follow, and I thought, okay, if I can get this principle down from this video, I've got it. And I really thought that that second Venom drawing I showed you was super dynamic, is as good as the pros, and not even close. And that's just not me being hard on myself, it's me being honest. But I was proud of that drawing. It was the best I could do at the time. Now, when you do a drawing, I would recommend, if you want to learn how to improve, stepping back from it, at least for about a week or so, and then compare it to some really good art. Not just your heroes, like the artists you admire, because then you're just trying to copy their style. What I'm talking about is finding artists from all across the spectrum, and it doesn't even have to be comic books necessarily, and just saying, how does my drawing compare to them? And if you like, say, the way a person does their shading or rendering, or you like the dynamic figures of another artist, really study and say, okay, am I getting close to that? And art isn't as mystical a process as a lot of people want to believe. You can get a lot of happiness from it, of course, but it's a craft too. There's nothing mysterious about it. I think even on an episode of The Flash, they said, well, art is a mechanical process with muscle memory, and it's true. Some people are better at it than others, like some people are better at certain sports than others. To give you an idea how good I am at sports, I am the one doing drawing videos, not teaching anyone how to play football. But anyway, so when I compared my work, I was like, oh, okay, well, the anatomy is wrong and weird, and even this anatomy isn't perfect, but it is coming along, and I did a little something different for this video, in that normally I just color everything in at once in the Copics and then I overlay with a pencil, but initially after I did the Copic head coloring, I wasn't that thrilled with it. I thought it was a little off, and I thought, well, maybe I'll save it with colored pencils. And I did like how the head turned out. So then I just thought, okay, I'm just going to continue this process throughout. And I really like the way the coloring job came out. Now, I've seen Venom rendered with a lot of grays lately, and the Venom I had growing up in the 90s was, rendered in blue, so that's what we're sticking with. And also now Venom has toes. I didn't really realize that. I'm used to more of the foot, being like it was in like a standard superhero suit. So again, that's what I'm going with. But when you're looking at your art, trying to improve it, beyond just looking at, oh, okay, I can do this better, I can do that better, you really have to get kind of scientific about it. Like, one thing I struggle with is profiles. So what I do is I work harder at profiles than I do at other things to try to bring it up to that level. I mean, I still struggle with them, but I'm getting better. And the Venom that I thought was really dynamic, it was just a flat shot, nothing too exciting. Still learning about depth, still learning how to break apart a shape, and position things like coming at the imaginary camera. And proper foreshortening is the one of the hardest things to do, I find. Uh, but it's one of the most essential if you want to work in comics or draw really exciting, dynamic pages that have the reader stop and go, "Wow," because you're working on a 2D surface, and your goal is to give it the illusion of a 3D surface. If you're doing, say, a typical North American comic, now going in here with the colored pencils, I use a Faber-Castell, and what I try to do is go with small circles and just keep building up layer on layer, starting from light to dark, and keep your pencils very sharp between sections. That way the color lays down easier. The duller your pencil gets, frankly, the worse your drawing looks and the harder time you have blending it. So remember to sharpen frequently. I use a Statler eraser and, excuse me, a Statler pencil sharpener, and I think it works really well. I really like how this forearm section came out, and you'll have to excuse the occasional explosions. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. But I'm really happy with how this section came out, and one thing to keep in mind is that Venom is drawn as very veiny, so having to build that up and deciding that I wanted the light source coming from up above. So yeah, we're going to also give highlights and plan the highlights out ahead of time. It is much easier to add darkness than it is to add light. And I think that that's coming out pretty well. I was really happy with that part. And when you're looking to improve your work, don't be so hard on yourself. You are not going to draw like your favorite artist because you're not that artist. You're you. So you need to celebrate what works in your art, and please do not be lazy and say, "Oh, this is my style," to excuse mistakes, because yeah, some people have styles, but then again, this was my style when I was a little kid, and this was my style 5 years ago, and as of this recording, this is my style. And what I'm hoping is that very soon I'll have an even better style than this drawing. Venom's been one of my favorite characters of all time. I've drawn him throughout my life. But the main point of this video is it's not just practice makes perfect. You have to practice intelligently, objectively look at your work. Yet you can be proud of your work, of course, but just look at what the current piece is, realize that that was the best you could do at the time, but you have to be sincere. Was that really your best effort, or did you just phone it in? And if it's really your best effort, be proud of it. I mean, I am really happy that my art 5 years ago looks really poor compared to the art that I'm doing now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next 5 years holds. So in the meantime, keep telling your stories.